So this class is not a Ashtanga specific class. We're going to explore the realms of inversions and backbends. And Linda, if I'm say something incorrect, like if I'm teaching the wrong class or something, you're going to correct me, right? Okay. So that's it, really. I'll save some time at the end of class for some discussion. Right now, let's just talk about the titles of the class, right? Inversion and backbends. What is an inversion? If someone asked you that, or you were told to write a sentence, you know, a definition, what would you say? What is an inversion? Head below. Some people are saying feet above the head, but actually head below the heart, which changes things. If the feet don't have to be way up in the air for it to be an inversion. Yes, shoulder stand or handstand or something is an inversion, but also downward dog is an inversion. Padangustasana, standing forward fold, that's an inversion. Anytime our head is below the heart is considered an inversion. So it's not only the feet up in the air. Those are inversions, but they're not the only ones. So that opens our possibilities quite a lot for this class. Something that can be a little challenging or disorienting when we're inverted is directions. What's forward, what's back, what's up, down, right, left. Those things can become a little confusing, yeah? But in order to gain control and awareness while inverted, we need to bring awareness to whatever part of our body is touching the floor. But many times, people are thinking about what is in the air. In a headstand or handstand, a lot of times people are thinking about their feet, but the real control will come from the contact point on the floor, whatever that is. Hands, feet, head, yeah. So we're going to spend some time when we're talking about inversions and help you to bring awareness to contact points on the floor. For instance, if I was in a headstand with hands this way, and I felt my elbows floating from the floor, what would that tell me? Too much weight on the head, I'm going to topple over. So I would have to shift my weight up in the sky to keep some weight in the elbows so I had that even distribution across all. And so that's why bringing awareness to this will give us the information we need. Then we can make adjustments other places, yeah, without having to think too much, which is the other thing. Trying to think too much about things can throw us off, especially when inverted. So let's also look at the word backbend, or the words backbend or backbending. And I want to flip it. So before we talk about backbending, I would like to speak about forward bending, yeah? In Ashtanga anyway, what do we refer to? Oh, I'm just looking, there are a couple things in chat. We can't hear you, I solved that one. Somebody said I need to turn my volume up on my mic. Is that true in general? You guys having a hard time hearing me? I can do that, I think, by doing this. Is that better? Can you hear me better now? Okay, cool. All right. Amazing when things work. Fantastic. So the word for forward bend, or the word we use for a forward bend in Ashtanga is Paschimottanasana. That word, Paschimottanasana. You may know, but the literal translation for that word is intense Western stretch. It doesn't say forward bend, it says intense Western stretch. Why is this called an intense Western stretch? Well, I'm from Texas, and you know, cowboys, when they ride a horse all day long, chasing the cattle out on the range, you know, and at night they're around the campfire, and they're like, oh yeah, old Bubba, you know, I gotta do that there Western stretch out. I've been on that horse all day long. I better stretch the west. That's why it's called Western. No, it's not. So why the term Western? Well, traditionally, what time of day would one practice yoga? In the early morning. What is the first thing called that we do? The first movements. Surya Namaskara. Surya, the sun, Namaskar. Namaste, greeting. Greeting the sun. That means if we were practicing at the rising of the sun and facing the sun, the front of our body is the eastern side of the body. And the back of the body, facing the other coast, is the western side of the body. So east, west. Intense Western stretch. The actual asana name says we should intensely lengthen the back of the body. That's different than folding forward. That's different than a forward bend. Forward bend makes us think more about compressing the front of the body. Intensely lengthening the back of the body has a different experience. So now if we apply this to the definition we're using, or the other part of this class, instead of calling it a back bend, I want you to start thinking of it as a front opening. Instead of thinking of bending back, think of intensely expanding the front of the body. And here's what I mean by that. So if I'm stood on my mat here and you say, David, bend back. Bend back. David, intensely expand the front of the body. That would be different because bending back, it all goes here in the low back. Intensely open the front of the body gets this, everything expanding. It's a different experience. So in this class, we're going to redefine backbend as a front opening. To think of it like a bubble expanding from beneath us, from behind us, which is pushing out the frontal body. If we think of backbending, we find some flexy part in our spine. Usually, most people, it's somewhere in the low back, and we go like this, like a hinge. And that area becomes compromised because it's all of the force going to that one place. We want to distribute it so you get this big bubble shape like that. So that's what we're going to explore. Inversions and backbendings. Inversions defined by head lower than the heart. I'll take you through a series of sort of little eclectic movements to try to bring awareness to the contact points on the floor. And then for the backbending, we'll think of front opening. But I'm also going to have you do some sun salutations because they contain both of those things. Yeah. So we'll start with that. All right. Anytime you have a question, you can just punch in the chat there, and maybe Linda or Gerald are watching and they'll look if people have a question or you can't hear me or something. Other than that, samastitihi. So standing. Find your breath. Become really present as much as you can. And the first salutations, maybe you just walk as you're getting into it. Surya Namaskara A. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, chest up. Exhale, walk or hop back if you wish, and lower down. Inhale, upward dog. Exhale, downward dog. Deep breathing. 1. The quickest way to get energy in the body. 2, and heat is through your breath. 3. 4. 5. Inhale, jump or walk forward. Exhale, fold. Inhale, up. Exhale, arms to your sides. We'll do a couple more like that. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale back and lower. Inhale. Think of opening the frontal body here. Exhale. So you've already had a back bend or front opening here, and now you're in an inversion. 1. 2, your breath is nice and full. 3. 4. 5. Inhale forward. Again, you can jump or walk. Exhale, fold. Inhale, up. Exhale, arms to your sides. One more A. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Don't hurry. Exhale. Breathe deep. One. Two. Three. Four. Five. Inhale forward. Exhale, fold. Inhale, up. Exhale. Now B. Inhale, knees bend, arms up, hands touch. Exhale, fold. Inhale, chest up. Exhale, hopper step back, lower. Inhale, upward dog. Exhale, hips back. Inhale, step right foot, arms up, hands touch. Exhale, hands down, step back, lower. Inhale. Exhale, hips back. Left side, inhale, big step, arms up, hands touch. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Listen to your breath. 1. 2. 3. 4. 5. Inhale forward. Exhale, fold. Inhale, knees bend, arms up, hands touch. Exhale, samastitihi. One more. Inhale, knees bend, arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, chest up. Exhale, hopper step back, lower. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, right foot. Exhale, hands down, step back, lower. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, left foot, arms up, hands touch. Exhale, hands down, step back, lower. Inhale. Exhale. If you need to rest, you come down to your knees. One. So sometimes I sit down here and check in. Two. See if I can give any pointers. Three. Nina, try to roll your shoulders a little away from each other. Four. Five. Inhale, hop or walk forward. Exhale, fold. Inhale, knees bend, arms up, hands touch. Exhale, samastitihi. Okay, just follow the instruction. It's not another B, it's just a transition. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, chest up. Exhale, hopper step back and lower. Inhale, chest up. Exhale, hips back. And now stay here. This is an inversion. I want you to bring awareness to your contact points on the floor right now. You're breathing deep. And we'll start to explore little bits of moving parts away from the floor. Raise your right leg way up, but keeping your hips kind of parallel. Right now, your contact points are your two hands on the floor and your left foot. I want you to imagine your right leg is an extension of your arms. What I mean is if you push your arms down, your hands down, take that energy across the arms, through your back, and shoot it out your right foot. And lower. Other side, left leg up. Create that long line from the pushing down of the hands, take that through the arms, through the back, up and out the left foot. This is an inversion. You're bringing awareness to those contact points on the floor. And lower your left leg down. Now we're going to have a neutral resting position as I move through this little sequence. So we'll all try it together. Bend your knees all the way to the floor. Sit your bum back on your heels and rest your head down on the mat. You can return to that position anytime you wish during this sequence. You could stay there now or return to your downward dog. I'm going to teach you another type of dog. The most famous dogs in yoga are upward and downward. This is a different dog. Raise your right leg up. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, you can always look up here if you need to, but I think you'll understand. Open the right hip, bend the right leg, let it fall back behind you. Your two hands and left foot are on the floor. Now look under your right arm. This is known as the urinating dog. You can imagine a tree in front of you. Your two hands and left foot are your controlling factors, and right foot down. Left leg up, open the left hip, bend the left leg, let it drop behind you, look under your left arm. You can relax that left leg, which is part of what we're going to explore. Figure out how we can totally relax some places or learn to use just the muscles we need to keep us
within structural integrity. Left foot down. Go to your resting position, 2 knees on the floor, sit back on your heels. Resting there a little bit. Now return to your downward dog, unless you want to stay in the resting zone. Raise your right leg. Take your left hand and see if you can grab your left ankle. That's the one you're looking at back there. Now the left foot starts doing a little dance probably to keep you in balance. Your left foot's on the floor, your right hand's on the floor. And change. Left leg up. Right hand, right ankle. Breathing. These are inversions. Another thing, you have to relax enough for your body to find the balance and release and return to your resting zone. Again, downward dog. So we're just exploring. These are inversions. Once again, raise your right leg up. Now you may have to shift your weight a little bit to the left, because what we want to do is take right hand onto the left ankle. So balance becomes a little different. And change. So now left leg up, left hand, reach back and take the left ankle. Good job. Come down, knees to the floor, sit back on your heels, resting a moment. If you need to stay there, do so. Otherwise, again, downward dog. Now, try raising your left hand from the floor. Just reaching it forward and raise your right foot from the floor. And come down. Now left leg up, and the right hand, it just reaches a little forward. It's close to the floor, but all that's on the floor is left hand, left foot. Left hand, right foot. Good job, and come down. Pause a moment there. Now, right foot up, right hand just a little bit from the floor. So it's not reaching back toward that other ankle. It's just coming a little off the floor. And down. Other side. Left leg up. Left hand a little from the floor. You know, we're working toward taking both hands, both feet off the floor. I'm joking, but if you can do that, that would be impressive. And come down, resting position. Return to your downward dog. Step your right foot forward. Now step your left foot forward.
Now bow forward. Take your hands from the floor in front of your legs, but just wrap them around your upper arms. And just dangle there, just like that, just hanging. This is an inversion. That's right, Sylvie, just drop your head. So your lower body, your legs, have to work just enough to keep you there. Your upper body could be totally relaxed. It's like you're just hanging over the back of a sofa or something. So some of your body's working, some is relaxed. Release your hands, let them come down to the floor. The back of your hands just rest on the mat. Yeah. Now in a moment, I'm going to have you stand up, but I want you to come up really slow and begin to rise from your low back. So round your back, start to come up. Let your arms and head completely relax as you rise. And then you're standing. Okay, very good. Now, here's your next mission if you choose. I'll show you first. We'll have one leg forward. That will be the right one forward, left one back. Hand positions, you can either just take your wrists like this, or if possible, your hands behind like that. Okay, so I'll just show you first. My right foot forward, my left foot back. I bend my right leg. I shift my weight fully into the right foot, take the back foot off the floor. I tip forward until I get about halfway down, and my body is shaped like a T for Texas, like this. And then I come up and change feet. Okay, so your turn. Right foot forward, left foot back. Hands behind, either wrists or palms together. Bend your right leg, bow over the right leg, shift your weight fully into that front foot, and breathe. Try to feel when your body is shaped like a T. Now, when you come up, raise the chest, let the right leg come down, or left leg down, sorry, whichever leg. You're all on different legs. Change. Step forward and step back, other leg. Bend the front leg, bow over the leg. Shift your weight fully into that front foot, raise your back leg up. That foot on the floor is doing a whole little dance. You have to relax enough for it to find the balance point, and falling is also okay. And now, come up and release your hands and shake out a little bit. Okay, I can already hear, even though you're all muted, I can hear your thoughts. Some of you are going like, huh, that was not an inversion, David. That was also not a backbend. Ah, okay. So, I agree. How could we turn that posture into an inversion? Well, we shift our weight into that front foot. Either we stop in Texas, or maybe you just keep on going. And you see how low you can go. Now it becomes an inversion. Yeah? Okay, right foot forward, left foot back. Hands behind. Doesn't matter if it's wrists or palms. Bend your front leg. Bow over the leg. Shift your weight fully into that foot. Start to drop forward. The moment your head is lower than your heart, it's an inversion. We would not normally think of this posture as an inversion, but notice that foot on the floor. It has to do all kind of little firings, muscle firings, hundreds or thousands of little actions. And then coming up, other leg. I recommend only doing one leg at a time when you're learning this. Later, maybe you try both. Okay, go for it. Good job, and coming up. And release your hands. I love some of the dance steps you guys were inventing, very creative. Falling is underrated. That's more of another class, like the balance class, but very good. So, feet together, arms by your sides. I'll talk you into the next thing. Inhale, raise your arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, chest up. Exhale, hop or step back and lower. Inhale, upward dog. Exhale, downward dog. Hop forward to a kneeling position, like this. And maybe you're in the middle of your mat. Go like this with your arms. Now, do not move your elbows, but release your hands and bring them up and lace them together this way. And relax. When we did this, if we connected the line between the elbows, what kind of a shape would we have? A triangle. What kind of triangle? Equilateral triangle. Equal all three sides. Same distance, yeah? So whenever you'll hear this instruction a lot, before you go to a headstand, you'll do something like that. That's why, to keep the elbows equidistant as the lower arms. Why is that important, or who cares? Well, if we use a triangular shape as a base of support, if we lengthen one side of the triangle, it weakens it. If I shorten one side, also it weakens it. We will get optimal support structurally if it's equal all three sides. So now you can just watch first. I'm going to go like this. I lace my fingers together. I am not going to touch my head to the floor. I'm going to straighten my legs and shift my head back, kind of like a down dog with forearms on the floor like this. Some people call it a dolphin, like that. Okay, so figure out your elbow distance, forearms on the floor. Lace your fingers together without changing the elbow distance. Straighten your legs, pushing your chest back toward your feet. So kind of like a down dog, your head is not touching the floor. And I want you to let your head hang there like a piece of fruit hanging off a tree. Marie, tuck your chin, let your head relax. Let it just dangle there. Okay, and come down to your knees, put your bum on your heels, sit back and rest your head on the mat. Stay down, head down a couple breaths. Don't just sit up too fast. And then sit up. Okay so far? Next, we're going to place the head on the floor. And I learned the headstand like this, where we would wrap the hands around the back of our head. Some people prefer to pull the palms together. Yeah, you're going to decide. But I want to ask you a question, and then I'll pause and then I'll tell you the answer, but you can think in your mind or you can say it out loud if you want. What part of the head should touch the floor? And we'll say, well, the center of the head. Yeah. Somebody will say the flat part. I don't have a flat part. My head is shaped like a triangle. Like that. How can we find the center? Here's a simple way. I take this part of my hand, like the heel of my hand here, and I'm going to place that just between my eyebrows on my upper nose like that. And I'm going to spill my hand down and my fingers down and see where the tip of the middle finger lands. That should be the center of the top of your head. If you leave that finger there and you nod your head no, you'll feel it spin right around that central axis point. What's interesting is it's also the same place as if you went straight up from your ears, like this. Same thing. Yeah. Okay. That's the contact point on the floor. That just means your neck will be straight. The less support we have with our hands, the more aware we have to be of our neck alignment. Yeah. So there are headstands where actually there's no hands on the floor at all, or the hands move away from the head, etc. But for now, once again, you prepare, head on the floor, and straighten your legs. Leave your feet on the floor and your head on the floor, and walk your feet toward your face, and just stop when you're about half the way there. I don't want you to go up yet. I just want you to feel the weight distribution, that it is primarily on your arms. Yes, the head is touching the floor, but it is much less weight on the head and mostly on that wonderful shape you've created with your arms. Now, walk your feet a little away from your face, bend your knees, take your knees to the floor, put your bum on your heels, rest your head down on the mat for a couple of breaths, just head down. Okay, and then sit up. Now, I don't know everyone that's in this class, so I don't know your abilities. So you're going to have to take some responsibility here. You have the option next to go up to a headstand, raising your 2 feet up in the air. Or if you're not confident enough to do that with both, you could raise 1 foot or the other. If you need to use a wall, it's okay. Yeah. But I want you to feel the weight distribution on the 2 arms. Yeah. So prepare for headstand. Those of you that can do it, go up, but I want you to think a little about what you're doing. I want you to feel that triangular shape of your forearms as the main focus of and contact point. The head is touching the floor, but it is minimal weight. Very good. Like I said, you can do 1 leg at a time, or you can even just do it bent legs. If you're not confident, go all the way up. Now, with control, everyone come down slowly. Try not to crash. And then once you come down, leave your head on the mat. Just sit back to that resting neutral position. Don't sit up too fast. You can get a little dizzy if you do that. And what's going to happen during this class, I'll keep building upon something, but I'm going to give options. Like, you may revert to the thing before the one I'm showing and repeat that again, or try the new thing. All right. Next. And one of the challenges that we have with Zoom, at least thus far, I don't know how to help you physically. If you start to fall, you're on your own. All I can do is say, whoa, or honestly, sometimes now I'm teaching classes and I'm going like, Linda, your cat is behind you, careful. Like, don't jump back on your cat or your child or something. If you guys have a habit of falling and you're okay with that, just be sure you have room to do it. And I might fall when I'm showing this to you as well, because I'm not used to like talking and doing all this stuff at the same time. But here's what we're going to try to do. And I don't know if you'll be able to witness it from the screen or not. Yeah, I was watching Zoom. That was the last class David ever taught. He went flying over. Like this. So it starts the same. My head's on the floor. Then we try to take the head from the floor. I'm looking back. It's just the forearms on the floor. Yeah. So I want to say something before you try to go up. I don't know if you could see that or not, but when I took my head off the floor, it moved back between my upper arms. Does that make sense? It did not stay between, like when I lifted, my head went back also as I raised. It didn't just go straight up. That's one thing. Another is, if possible, keep looking back in the same direction. The challenge is the balance, right? Now, if I had started to fall, there's a variety of ways to fall, but one is, had I been up there and I started to go over, I would release my fingers, tuck my chin, and roll over, yeah? So, listen, you could try it with the wall. You could repeat headstand, head on the floor, be happy. You're not getting any gold star in this class if you do this or anything, yeah? So do what seems fun, reasonable, and safe. You can also just revert to one leg up, the other leg up, but I want you to try to see if you can go to the headstand and then take your head off the floor. Another possibility is just to go directly up with your head off the floor. But then I recommend a wall. You decide. Either repeat the one you did before with head on the floor, or if you want to try to see if you can shift that weight. Lawrence, if you guys have a partner, you could spot each other. You could take turns watching behind each other so that you don't fall. Okay. If you have a practice buddy there with you, you can spot each other. If not, you're on your own. I noticed I'm sitting here staring at the screen, I'm like holding my breath right now. Seva, keep looking back if you can when you do that. Instead of lifting the chin up, try to keep the head looking back. Okay. Good job, everyone. Come down and relax. Go to your neutral resting position, head down, couple breaths. And then sit up. There was a time way back, a million years ago when we were doing headstand, we were told to do 30 minutes headstand. We would try to do 30 minutes. Patabi Joyce used to say, you should be able to slip a piece of paper under your head, or you take your head off the floor. So honestly, if you start doing prolonged headstands, it's a good thing to understand how to take your head off the floor. You take the pressure off your neck, yeah? And even if the head is on the floor, you can keep trying to push the weight onto those arms Yeah. So that your most of the weight is there and your neck is safe. Okay, so
David,
far?
there's somebody with a question.
Okay, is it in the chat, that question? Is it a chat question?
Yeah, I unmuted the wrong one. Yeah.
Oh.
She just says there's a question. So
Conchi has a question. Conchi, yeah.
Do you have the question?
Go ahead, Conchi. Whoops, unmute.
Yes.
You wrote in the chat question,
Conchi.
but where's my question? Can you say your question?
Yeah.
Can you hear me, David?
I didn't
Yes,
type
I can hear you.
I'd like to ask it. If that's okay.
That's weird.
I can ask, go ahead.
Okay. Can you hear me, David?
Yes,
Can you hear me, David?
Yes.
I hear everyone.
When I went into the headstand, I could lift a little bit. There is almost no weight on the head. But if I try to lift up, then automatically it's what you said, that the head goes, goes back, I think. But I feel like if I did it, I was going to fall. So do you have any experience of falling back from that position?
I have a lot of experience falling. I have fallen a lot learning this stuff. I promise you. Anything in life that requires balance requires falling. And here's the odd thing about it. Imagine I'm in a headstand right now, right? So here's my head, yeah. And I want to take my head off the floor. What has to happen is the whole body has to go like this. So when the head moves back, the whole body has to go with it like that. Does that make sense? It's a little weird. But what tends to happen is we lift up and all this sort of stuff. It takes a long time to become acclimated. So remember at the beginning of this class, I said it's about the contact points on the floor, trying to feel that action. I found a video of me that my brother and I had made. Probably I'm 15, 16 years old, 17 maybe, of me trying to do Pinchamayurasana in the backyard on a bed sheet. And it's just like boof, boom, boom, like 100 times, boof, boof, boof. Yeah, is normal. But we practiced outdoors, practiced in the grass or something. So, but the fact you got your head a little off the floor, great. Yeah.
Thank you.
But yeah, but you know, it's tricky. I don't want you guys to just be falling unless you're confident with how to fall. So use a wall or something in this setting specifically, because I'm not there to help you. Now, next thing, come to your kneeling position again, like you did before, in the middle of your mat. Grab your elbows. Do not move your elbows, but take your hands up like this. Whoop, like that. And relax. Relax. What you did when you released your hands and raised them is you externally rotated your upper arm, both of them like that. Okay? So now you're going to do the same thing. You're going to put your elbows on your mat and you're going to take the hands out like that on the mat, like you're about to do Pinchamayurasana, but you're not going to go all the way up. You're just going to leave your feet on the floor. So I'm here, here. I straighten my legs and stop like this, like we did earlier, but now the forearms are flat on the floor. Try it. Spread your fingers wide. Okay, come down, rest your head on the mat, bum on the heels, and then sit up. When we put our forearms on the floor, I want you to imagine that these are huge clown feet, giant feet. Elbows are the heels, fingers are the toes of these giant feet. We're going to use our fingers to help us to balance, just like big feet. Yeah? Actually, just for a moment, stand up on your feet, just to be clear. Stand up on your 2 feet. Without bending at the waist, just lean a little bit forward and return to neutral. Again. And neutral. And relax. Do you notice how when you lean forward, your toes automatically, without your thinking about it, went and they grabbed the floor, right? You didn't have to think about that. Your toes automatically did that. We have to train our hands to think like feet. Yeah. So when they're on the floor, if you're in like Pinchamayurasana, you feel your body going over, we're grabbing the floor, gripping the floor with our fingers, a little bit like a tiger. You know, a tiger paw, like when they walk, they kind of go like that. Their wrist sort of pushes down and their claws reach. It's like that. We're pushing with the wrist and gripping the floor with our fingers. Okay. So return to that like position, forearms on the floor, bum up in the air, and then try to just raise one leg.
Try to raise one leg. Do the same position and raise one leg.
And then try the other leg. One leg at a time. Lower the one, raise the other. Good job. Come down, knees to the floor, bum on your heels, rest your head on the mat for a moment.
I was thinking that weird sound.
And sit up. Good job. For Pinchamayurasana, when we take the 2 legs up, Pinchamayurasana is the feather of the peacock. Like when a peacock lifts its feathers up in the air. That's what this posture is named after. The gaze can be between the wrists. Like if this were a piece of clear glass under my arms and you're beneath me and I'm in Pinchamayurasana, my head would be like this. It'd be looking around here. It's not looking way out here. That's a mistake people make. They lift their head too much. You'll feel it in your neck and your low back. Your head is somewhat relaxed. You're looking between your wrists. There is a version where we actually tuck our chin and we look back. But that requires more confidence and control. Otherwise, you can just flip over. Now, normally I have people spot each other to do this. We don't have that option right now unless you have a practice buddy with you right now. But you could use a wall if you have a wall available. Yeah. You can turn your mat toward the wall, put one leg up and hop the other leg up, and then try to take your feet from the wall and see if you can find your balance, but thinking of those giant arm feet, yeah, between your elbows and your fingertips, controlling from that action. If you know how to do it without a wall, you're welcome to do it and just go up. A wall is helpful to build our confidence that we can support ourselves on our arms, and try to get a sense of where your gaze should be. It doesn't have to be out, and really should not be out by your fingertips. It's more like between your wrists, so there's less strain on the neck. And if this is unreasonable, repeat headstand. That's also fine. I'll let you try a couple more and then we're going to talk a bit further about it. Okay, relax a moment. Come down. Just relax. Keep your head down for a breath or two before you sit up. Good. And coming up. You may have discovered a couple of things, and it's about some of our body parts. You may have discovered that hands love each other. They absolutely love each other. And they're like this. Oh, left hand, I miss you. Oh, I think I miss you more, right hand. Oh, I can't bear to be away. Let's meet in the middle. And they come running in toward each other. Elbows don't like each other that much. Left elbow, I don't like you right, I don't like you left. And they go like this. They run away from each other. Sometimes both of these things happen simultaneously. If you're in Pinchamarasana or you're attempting Pincha and this occurs, this will be the result. You will eat your mat. So we have to try to keep the hands somewhat parallel. They don't have to be totally parallel like railroad tracks, right? But if they cross too much or start to go out too much, we lose it. Sometimes I use my thumbs like little bumpers, yeah, where they touch together, or even if the hands come in, it's okay, but we want to avoid extreme movement like that. So remember I had you do this earlier here. You're externally rotating your arms and you're doing that. You're trying to feel that sensation of rotation when you're in the Pinchamarasana thing, yeah? Trying to avoid that crossing over and elbows flying out, etc. Does that make sense? Try one or two more on your own. Or repeat one of the previous things that seemed more reasonable. You decide. Okay, relax. Laurence, you have to be careful. You can get kicked when you're standing like that. Okay, come down. You guys relax a moment. I'll give you a little more information about this. So you can sit up. Let's call my leg that is in the air. This is leg number 1 up here. Leg on the floor is leg 2. So this is 1 up here, leg 2 on the ground. If we want to jump up there into Pinchamarasana, 1 leg at a time, which leg really takes me up there? Is it leg 1, the one in the air, or leg 2, the one on the ground? If you think it's leg 1, let me see this. If you think it's leg 2, give me the peace sign. If you have no idea, just go, okay. All right, thank you. So there's 1 and 2. I think it's number 2. I think it's the foot that's on the floor. Because when people are focused on the leg in the air, imagine this is my leg number 1, they throw that leg, they get some momentum and they propel it up in the air. That momentum then pulls the second leg off the floor. And what's going to happen is, oh, I'm up. And we go over. Because that first leg, it's all about the momentum and it's hard to stop that second one. So instead, we want to push the floor with our foot on the floor, the other leg's in the air, but we push off. And you can experiment with stopping with your legs like in the splits position. Yeah. So you can push off and stop like that with them split. And then think of bringing the 2 feet together. So sometimes to get the balance, you push off and stop like that. And then the trick is both legs have to move at the same time toward each other. Because if we stop in the splits and we move only 1 leg, we fly over. Make sense? You can try again, or you can just chill out for a moment, or repeat one of the previous things. Think of pushing from the floor. Yes, the 1 leg is up in the air, but it's not the one that takes you into the posture. Okay, relax. One more thing, and this is not only for Seva, but I noticed it in Seva and maybe some others as well, okay? Some of you, before you're jumping, you have your shoulder directly in line with the elbow or maybe even a little bit back, like this, and you're trying to go up. It's not going to work. We need to bring the shoulder a little bit forward of the elbows, just so the weight is a little forward to get up there. After you're up, you can push back to this alignment. But if you're starting like that and you're back here and you're trying to come up, it's not going to work. You need to shift your weight a little forward toward the fingertips. Now, not too much because you don't want to eat the mat. Either try again or just relax. So if you're having a hard time getting the feet off the floor, like they get off the floor, but you keep falling down, shift your shoulders a little bit forward before you hop. A little forward, Seva. There you go, just like that. Okay, good job. Relax. Come down, bum on your heels, head on the mat. Relax a moment. And then sit up. Very good. Now, I want you to lie flat on your belly on your mat, just flat down on your frontal body. Take your arms back by your sides with your palms up, but the hands really close to your torso. The arms are straight, they're back by your sides with the back of the hand on the floor. Okay. Now, first, I want you to leave the legs on the floor, but lift just your head and shoulders off the floor. So lifting your chest up off the floor. Press the back of the hands down. The legs just remain on the floor for now. You're activating the muscles of the back. So we're going to start looking at some back bending, front opening stuff. And now come down. Leave your chin touching the floor, but raise both legs off the floor. Just the legs. Feet together. And come down. All right, now, I'm going to have you repeat those again, but I'm going to give you a little different focus. So leave your legs on the floor. This time, as you raise your chest and head and shoulders, I want you to imagine you're trying to touch the wall in front of you with your head. So go reach through your head and then start to rise, like you're painting a line up the wall using your head, because you're reaching so far forward, you're really extending. It's not just about rising, it's lengthening. And come down. Now you're going to do the same thing, but the lower body. So first start reaching through your toes toward the wall behind you and then start to raise them. You're creating length as you rise up, 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 up. And come down. Pause a moment there. And now you try both. Imagine or try to touch the wall in front of you with your head, the wall behind you with your toes. As you rise, you're drawing lines up those walls with your head and your toes. So you're rising, but you're also lengthening and lengthening and lengthening, activating those muscles of the back and coming down. Slide your hands forward under your shoulders and inhale to an upward dog and remain there for a few breaths in the upward dog. I want you to think of opening the front of your body. Madalena, we're in upward dog, not downward, upward dog. Lifting the chest like there's a string attached to it, opening the front of the body, and now shift your hips back to downward dog. Now inhale like you're about to do a push-up, like a high plank position, and exhale and lower all the way down to the floor. Now bend your knees and grab your ankles with your two hands. And inhale and go up. Now, while you're doing this, I want you to think of your chest expanding forward and the frontal part of your legs going back. So it's not just about up, it's moving away from each other. If you feel it a lot in your knees, don't push too much with your legs and come down. Release your ankles, relax a moment. Second time, repeat the same thing. Bend your legs, catch the ankles, and lift up. Think of this as an expansion of the front of the body, all the way across the tops of your feet, your shins, the upper legs, your belly, your chest, your throat, everything expanding on the front of the body. And coming down with control and release. Hands down. Inhale, upward dog, and remain there for a couple breaths in the up dog. And then hips back. Hop forward to a kneeling position. So you're standing on your knees with a little space between your knees. All right? We're going to look at Ustrasana. It's a posture from second series, but there's a variety of depths to it. One is, I bend my arms, you can just watch, my hands on my bum, I lift my chest, I'm opening the front of my body, and I shift a little bit back like that. That's one option. Another is the hands on the back of the legs, but the same idea, I'm opening the front of the body. Other one, the palms rest on the heels and the fingers toward the toes. This way. You choose which one of those hand positions you want. Standing on your knees. Hands go back. Either bent arms, hands on waist, or straight arms, hands on the back of the legs, or palms on your heels if you have the flexibility. Now, while you are here, to go back, you should also be going forward. So your pelvis should be pushing forward while you reach back through your head and your shoulders. Your hands, as they reach down, I want you to lift your chest up. And then come up, and your head is the last thing to rise. So when you exit this, the hips go forward, then the chest, then the head. Okay, relax a moment. We're exploring opposing forces. What happens sometimes, people only think back. They just shift out like that. They're just hanging back. To go back, I should go forward. To go down, I should go up. So as I'm going back with the chest and head, I'm reaching forward there. As I reach down with my hands, I should be lifting up here. So I get this action of opposing forces. There's this lifting action here. When I come out, first I shift my hips forward, then my chest rises, then the head. So one more time, go whatever depth you were in, but feel the opposing forces. Pelvis forward, shoulders back, hands down, chest up. Oppositional forces, creating a balance. Opening the front of the body, not just collapsing in the low, flexy part of the back. When you come out, you shift your hips forward, lift your chest, and then the head comes up last. All right. Relax a moment. I'm going to put this so I just see myself for a moment so I can try to understand what you're seeing. I want you to be able to see my knees when I come up. So that's why I'm at a funny angle here. I'm going to go back into the same posture. But when I come up, I want you to watch these little legs of mine from here. I'm coming out. I shift my hips forward. What did I do? Did you see the knees squeeze in? Did you notice that? Yes? No? Okay. How many of you have ever seen James Brown perform? Maybe on television, maybe live, maybe in a movie. How many of you do not know who James Brown is? Let's see. You should not go through life without knowing about James Brown. James Brown is known as the godfather of soul. He changed how people perform and dance and move on stage. And one of the things this man would do, he'd be up there, he'd be dancing around, he'd go into the splits, like that, flop. Without using his hands, he would suck his legs together like this. And he'd say, "Oh, I feel good," but sounding better than me. Now, when you're like, what does this have to do with anything, David? When you exit Ustrasana, and it is time to come up, you shift your hips forward and you think James Brown and you pull your knees in. Okay? Go back in there one more time. Whatever depth, it doesn't matter if you're part of the way back or hands on the heels or hands on bum or back of the legs, no problem. But you settle in there for a breath or two. When you exit, you shift your hips forward and you squeeze your knees in toward each other as you rise. Did you feel something different when you came out? Yes? No? Yes? What does it make you want to say? Ow, I feel good, right? This is the key to backbends. Learning to use your legs. Do not rely upon some flexy part of your back to hang out in. You want to get support from the front and from the legs, etc. Okay, so far? Cool. Stand up on your 2 feet, right? Just stand up. Feet about hips width apart, or maybe even shoulders width apart. Hands over your chest like that. Lift your chest like it's filling up with helium. As you're standing here, it's like your lungs are filling with helium gas. They start floating up and you start expanding on the front of the body, but then you start to lean back a bit while you're floating up and expanding the front of the body. You start to lean back a bit and then come up. Try to open the front of the body. Keep your legs straight as long as you can, and then if you want to start bending them, it's okay, but don't start that way. We don't really care how far you're going. I don't want you to fall or anything, but lift your chest, take a few breaths, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale. And if you want to start to bend the knees, that's okay. When you come up, you think James Brown. So even from here, I'm going to go squeeze and come up. Start to go for it. Hands over your chest. If you start to feel this in your low back, squeeze your legs and try to pump that stretch into the upper back so it does not remain in your low back. The feet should be hip or even shoulders width apart. When you come out, you squeeze your legs in, and it's almost like the mat is slippy and you're trying to pull your feet in a little bit as well. Good job. And come up. Now, this time, instead of the hands crossed over the chest, take them together in front of you, but it's almost like your hands are tied to your chest with a little string, and you start to pull the hands a little away from the chest, but they can't fully go away from the chest, so what happens is it starts to lift your chest. So you're going to do the same thing standing, but instead of hands crossed here, my palms are together. I inhale, and I'm trying to lift that little string up. Inhale. Then I can exhale, settle in a little bit. Inhale. Every time I inhale, I try to lift the chest up a little more and start to go back. Oh, I'll lift the chest up a little more and see how far you can go, but keeping it in the upper back more than the low back. Think of that, lifting that little string up. Your hands are lifting that string up in the middle of your chest. So you're taking it out of the low back. Okay, good. Now, you can repeat arms across the chest or hands in front of the chest, or you can start to go back. And I don't care how far you go. I just want you to feel the contact points on the floor and an opening of the front of the body. I inhale, my hands start to rise. I inhale a bit more. Exhale, my hands start to go back. My gaze is following my hands. This way, yeah? So you start to hang back a bit. When you feel it in the low back, squeeze the legs a little and think of lifting your chest. I want it to be more about your legs and your breath and a feeling of control and the foundations of your feet. Okay, and coming up. And now sit down and lie down on your back and bend your knees, bringing your heels up toward your bum. But listen to me, they don't have to be on your bum. Feet on the floor, but heels maybe close to the bum. Claire, put your feet down on the floor. Yes. Don't take your shoulders from the floor. Just push your bum up only as you inhale. Just the bum. And exhale and come down. Now, those of you who have the flexibility, catch your ankles with your two hands. Leave your shoulders down. And inhale and push up. Feel your feet. They can be hip or even shoulders width apart, trying to keep them parallel. And come down. Now listen, each of you need to take responsibility for your flexibility in your body. If you want to try to go further, listen to me, you're going to stop on top of your head. So your feet are on the floor. Take your hands back under your shoulders. Lift just your bum to start with, just the bum up. Shoulders are still down. Then push a little further, see if you can come up on the top of your head. Pull your elbows in toward each other. Breathe deep. Head remains on the floor. When it is time to come out, I want you to increase the weight in your hands, tuck your chin, and lie right back down the mat. And relax. If when you do a back bend, whether it was this partial back bend or when you go all the way up, if you are feeling that in your low back, like it feels like it's really pinching in the low back or like a hinge, I want you to take your feet a little bit away from your bum. So if you're feeling like, wow, it's all compressed in the low back, move your feet away from your bum toward the front of your mat. And go up again, either stopping on your head, or those of you who are able, go all the way up. And you might experiment with the different foot position. The ones really close to your bum or a little bit further from the bum. Sometimes when people say it, they have a complaint in their low back. If you move your feet away from your bum, increase the distance between hands and feet, it will relieve that. And then you come down and pause, and you can go up once or twice more if you wish. Experiment with the foot position, see which feels better. It's different for everyone. Every body is different, right? And even your own body is different one day to the next, but it's good to know you have options, and different foot positions can make a big difference in the feeling. And when I see people that have to come up on their tiptoes in a back bend, generally if I tell that person to start with their feet further from their bum, they don't have to take the feet up like that anymore. And coming down onto your back. Now what's interesting is what you just did was an inversion and a back bend, right? Because your head's below your heart and you're bending back. So you ended up doing both things same time. Yeah. Now, bring your knees up to your chest. And you're going to start just slowly at first. Just start rolling forward and back, just a little bit. But with each roll, you increase it until you come all the way up to sitting. It'll take like 5 or 6 or 7 times to finally come all the way up to sitting. This can be a real nice massage for your back. If it hurts your back because the floor is hard, you just double your mat over, put a towel or something. It can be very nice for the spine, actually, this rolling action. All right. Now, straighten your 2 legs in front of you and fold forward. And breathe. Just sink into a forward fold. But how are we defining it? A lengthening of the back of the body. I'm going to have you try something that may feel a little different than what you normally do. As you're folding forward, I want you to pull your pelvis back. So you're actually going to, on purpose, round your low back a little bit. So suck your belly in and kind of push the upper pelvis back as you're folding forward. And just see how that feels. And then you can start to release that a little and sinking further forward. And breathing. Stay a few more breaths. Just follow the breath, sinking into this. And then sit up. Roll down onto your back. I'm going to have you do a tiny modified shoulder stand sequence, okay? Now you can leave your bum in your hands totally, so the weight ends up being more in your upper arms, or if you have the ability and desire to go further up with your hands on your back, go for it. So shoulder stand position, legs up, either hips in hands or hands on back. If there's any reason you're not inverting today, you can leave your bum on the floor and raise only legs. So this is an inversion. Be aware of your contact point on the floor and think of the name of this posture, shoulder stand. We're trying to keep the weight as much as possible on the shoulders and upper arms and the back of the head, but not too much on the neck. Kind of keep the neck free from the floor. Slow your breath a bit. Feel those contact points on the floor. Couple more breaths. Exhale, keeping the legs straight, lower them toward the floor over your head, like a halasana position. You can keep your hands on your back or lace your fingers together and pull the arms down. One benefit of lacing those fingers together is it helps us roll the shoulders under the body, which facilitates that keeping the neck from the floor. And you're still breathing deep. This is an inversion. We should never go so far in a posture that our breath is restricted or lost. We need to find the depth that facilitates our breath. Now soften your knees toward the floor. Let the back round. It becomes more challenging to keep the breath flowing here when the back rounds, but you need to find a way to keep the breath moving in and out freely, which might mean less depth. Now start to roll your bum down toward the mat. Release your fingers. Roll all the way down. Straighten your legs. You can leave the legs flat on the floor if you wish. Press your elbows down, lift your chest, and take your head back. A modified Uttana Padasana. You can leave the legs on the floor. And then if you want to, you can take your arms from the floor, palms together, or keep the elbows down for support. And really, this is a kind of inversion as well, which is strange, but your head is a little lower than your heart. And release and come down. Bring your knees up to your chest. Begin to roll forward and back a few times, just like you did before. And come all the way up to sitting. Place your legs in lotus, half lotus, or no lotus, which would just be crossed legs. Take your hands behind your back, and we're going to do the classical final three poses of an Ashtanga practice. And just bow forward. I'm going to count these out. I'm counting slow. 1. Maybe it represents your breath, maybe not. Head down, Jane. Head down. 2, and your arms are crossed behind your back. Yes. 3, 4. Sebastian, sit up. Sebastian. And fold forward, hands behind your back. 5. With your legs crossed. Sebastian, legs crossed. And hands behind your back. 6. You got it. 7. 8. I'm going to count to 10. 9. 10. And sit up. Place the back of your hands on your legs, arms straight. Touch the thumb and index fingers together. And the arm is completely straight, all the way down from the inner arm through the wrist and fingertips. That. Let your head droop forward without compromising structural integrity. 1. 2. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Inhale, look forward. And I slightly lied. We're only going to do the 2. I'm going to let you off the hook today. And just release your legs and roll down onto your back. Wow. I know you're disappointed by that. I want to let you just remain relaxed here. I'm going to talk you through a little relaxation, few minutes, then we'll have some time for some discussion after. Do whatever wriggling around you need to do. If you have Savasana accessories, gather that stuff together. And then become as still as you can. Take a nice big inhale through your nose and exhale with a sigh. Two more times like that. Inhale. Exhaling from your mouth. One more big inhale. And really letting go and surrendering to gravity as you exhale. No more effort. A little space increases between the joints. Bones settle into alignment. Observe as your breath rate and heartbeat begin to slow down. Let stresses or soreness or tiredness drip away from the body, melt away. And then like a sponge, soak up, absorb that warm glow of prana, life force, healing energy in your body, bathing every cell. I'm going to leave you in silence for a couple of minutes, and I'll bring you out of your relaxation. Begin to bring some awareness back to your breath. Just watching the rising and falling of each gentle breath. Now bring a tiny bit of movement to fingers and toes, just a little bit at first. Expand the volume of air a bit further. Bring some more movement into the body. As the breath increases, the movement increases. With a big inhale, raise your arms over your head and stretch. Exhale, relax. Bring your knees up to your chest once again. This time, give yourself a nice, big, loving hug. And rock from side to side. Tip over to either side, release your knees, sink into the floor. And then slowly sit up. Very good. How are you feeling? All right? Good. We have a few minutes for some discussion here. There's a couple ways you can ask questions. The official way is if you click where it says participant, you'll see something says raise hand. If you click on that, we'll see a little hand come up. If that technology makes no sense, you can just keep wiggling your hands around until we see you. But if you know how to do that official way, that also works. If not, like I said, you can use an old school method, wriggling your hands around, or type in a question in the chat. It can be a question or a comment or an observation or whatever. Anything?
Marie speaking.
Marie. Oh,
Yes.
okay. Go ahead, Marie.
I find that in the backbends, it's always very painful for my neck. So have you an advice, something to?
Sure. Let me ask you, when you say backbend, does that include things like an upward dog or Ustrasana, or just when your hands and feet on the floor and you're lifting up, or what? Anytime?
No, not anytime.
Which backbend specifically?
You
can just describe it.
Yes, this one.
Ustrasana.
Yes.
Okay.
It's really
Fine. So
very painful. Very
okay, a couple of things. When we take our neck back, we should not do this. I'm just collapsing the neck. We should reach with the head. Imagine maybe we have a tennis ball back here. We're trying to reach over that ball as I'm going back. So even in the posture you just showed, in Ustrasana, instead of letting the head hang like this, think of reaching with your head. Start to reach back this way instead of just hanging. Reach a little further back. If that still bothers you, you have two options. One is don't take your head back at all, just leave it here. Another is don't go so far. Maybe it's premature to take your hands to the heels. Does that make sense? Do you want to try one of those things, Marie, and see if it feels better? So you can try, imagine there's like a tennis ball or something, or a grapefruit behind your neck that you're reaching over as you go back. So you don't just collapse. And maybe you don't go back as far. Does that feel better?
Yes, it's better.
Yay. Many times what happens is we're just collapsing in one little part of the neck. We want to try to use as much of the neck as possible. Yeah.
That's true. Thank you.
Thank you. Merci beaucoup. Other questions? Oh, Justine, you'll have to unmute your own computer there, I think. There you go.
Hi.
Hi.
Again. David, is the end goal of Pincha, referring to Ashtanga obviously, to come up with 2 legs if you're doing intermediate series, or is it acceptable to come up with 1 at a time?
The goal of it is to survive.
But it's not like headstand.
But that means, honestly, it doesn't matter how you go up.
Okay.
If you can go 2 legs at once, that's great. But it's not a mandatory thing. And this is not something I ever heard Patabi Joyce or the teacher say you have to go up a certain way.
Okay.
Now, when I was teaching people to go up to handstand, I'd always try to get them to jump 2 feet. But
Yeah.
Pincha, it's a little tricky to do that. And honestly, the approach that you use to enter Pinchamayurasana depends a bit on your body type. And here's what I mean.
Shoulders are
Someone that has a long torso and really flexible hamstrings, they can walk their feet very close to their body. They almost don't even have to jump. They can just almost lift their legs up because they can get their feet so close to their body that they can go up like that. Yeah. A lot of people don't have that. So if you can't get your feet so close to your torso, you're going to have to hop. And then you could hop 2 or just 1 by 1. So it's really a matter of choice. There's not a specific official goal on the entry for that.
Is the exit specific to the flopping back? To that, like...
Well, the exit to come out, you mean? Yeah. I'll tell you how we were told to exit, okay? And it looks crazy, like maybe it was a mistake when this was invented, but then whoever did it said, no, man, I did that on purpose, write it down, you know, but it looks weird how we were told to exit. This was the instruction for the exit from Pinchamayurasana. They said, fall like a tree.
Okay.
Yeah. That means the body's straight and we would just go whoosh. And I'll show you in a moment. But what I'm finding is people are doing this other thing where they take their legs back first and then they throw them toward the floor. This is not a good thing because you are increasing the velocity that you're heading toward the earth. Better really to fall like a tree. It slows the action a bit and gives us a moment to shift our hands into position. So here's what we're talking about. So whether you went up 1 foot or 2 feet, time to come down. Falling like a tree meant this. The last moment you shift your hands and you hear this crashing sound, right? Because that's a tree falling, right? Time to come down. I fall like a tree and shift my hands.
Okay.
There is a moment, if we had some high-speed camera, where nothing's touching the floor.
Okay.
It's a little crazy, but as you're falling, we push and slide the hands back.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how we were told to do it. Now, we were young and crazy, you know, and we would just do what we were told. But also, I learned a lot of this practicing outdoors.
Okay.
If you're going to try something like this, you have to be 100% sure you're not landing on pointed toes, right? You've got to pull the toes back, land on the balls of the feet. Maybe easier to practice on the grass, but honestly, it's safer. Just bend at the waist, and come down slowly.
Okay, thank you.
But if you want to fall, that's how we would do it. Poof.
Okay, thanks. Thanks very much.
And then everyone in the room, including the teacher, they hear this big boom and they look, whoa, what happened? But that's how we were supposed to do it. Any other questions or comments? Observations? Something in the chat. Let's see. Okay, no specific questions in the chat there. Just some nice appreciative words. Anything else you want to talk about, ask about?
Carla
Yes.
has her hand.
Natalie also does. Okay, we'll come back. Corina, you have your hand? Unmute. Okay, you'll have to unmute yourself there, I think. Yes.
So I was just thank you for the.
You have to get a little closer to your microphone, I think.
Yeah, actually, I have a question about the a variation of Adho Mukha Svanasana without a hand and a feet. So it's just a hand and the same feet on the floor. So is the pelvis straight?
One moment, wait, one moment. Oh, this is the variations I was using of the downward dog?
Yeah, I was wondering if the pelvis is in front of the mat or if it tilts.
No, we try to keep on the urinating dog.
Yeah. But without a
Then you-
hand, so it.
Then you open to the side, yeah, you open to the side.
Yeah, this one, yeah, but that one, when you lift a hand also from the floor.
Yeah. Oh, then you keep the hips square. That I didn't do the urinating dog. When we did that, we had two hands and one foot on the floor.
Yeah. No, I
Just like
I
a dog.
was talking about the one when you lift a hand and a leg.
Yeah, then the hips remain parallel.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So, for example.
But there is some version, and this is not Ashtanga. Remember, this was just.
Yeah.
But there is a version where people do that. They lift, for instance, if I'm in down dog, I leave my left hand, left foot on the floor. I would raise the leg and lift the arm, and they would actually like flip over, like a back bend or something, right? But we weren't doing that.
I was wondering because, for instance, in downward facing dog, my heels aren't really on the floor, even if my my muscles are flexible, but maybe not enough. But as if my heels aren't on the floor, I was wondering if I can put my heel like in Virabhadrasana a bit to the center.
I understand your question. First of all, it's okay. So your heels aren't on the floor. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Your heels do not have to be on the floor in downward dog. And what happens in order to get them there, sometimes you'll see people, their downward dog is really narrow. It's like that. So rather than focus on the heels have to be down, like when I would run teacher trainings, I say, look from the side, and we try to see 90-degree angle on the body. And then heels down or not. You want the same sort of angle on the front and back of the body. Maybe the heels down, maybe not. But when you start walking them in, you get other issues. So it's okay. You have tighter Achilles, no problem. You're still a good person.
Thank you.
So don't worry. Heels down, not. It's okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And someone else had their hand. Yes, Carla, unmuting. We'll come to you, Natalie, next. Carla, yeah.
So I sometimes get a pinching pain in my lower back when I'm doing my upward facing dog during the vinyasas between the seated posture, Ashtanga practice. And I do have a bulge disc in L4, L5, S1. But I don't feel it usually. It's just as the seated postures, each time I take the upward facing dog in the vinyasa, it pinches in my lower back.
So a couple of things. One is, and this is for everyone, if you feel this pinching, take your feet further from your hands. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So in your upward dog, if your feet were maybe 1 inch more back, it should feel better. Also, the fact that it's in the vinyasas, it might be that you're rushing.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes we're trying to catch up, or, oh my gosh, up dog, down dog, and we're going really fast. Poof. Slow it down. Even if you're behind the count a little bit, it would be better to maybe slow that moment so you use the fullness of it. Another thing is, in upward dog, I'm going to ask a question and then answer it for you because we don't have time to go around and everybody give an answer. But in upward dog, what are we doing with our shoulders and our upper back? Are we pulling them back toward our feet or what? Now, flexible people will tend to do that. They go to up dog and they think of up dog. Instead of just this, they start to pull the shoulders up and then they're leaning back like that. It's going to go right into your low back, especially if you don't have the flexibility. Instead of pulling back toward the feet in upward dog, I want you to lift the chest straight up. Yeah. So instead of my thinking of I'm pulling back this way, I don't know if this will be visible or not. I imagine there's a string tied to my chest and it starts getting lifted up. Think of up rather than back. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you.
You want to try it? And just see if it feels different. So go to your up dog. Don't pull back, just lift your chest straight up. Take your feet 1 inch more back. Take your feet back 1 more inch. Now go, lift up. Better, worse, better?
More space. Yeah.
Yeah. The more we think of pulling the shoulders back to the feet, the more it goes into the low back like that.
Mm-hmm.
You want to start thinking of lifting up.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Conchi, actually, I'll come back, Conchi. Natalie, I keep telling you we're going to, where are you? There you go. You have to unmute your own computer there. Yeah. Natalie, yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about upward dog and the position of the elbows between and
yes.
To the inside.
You have a choice. I understand. You have a choice, yeah? And I'll show you the 2 options. And then in general in yoga, I'll back up, say a couple things. As a teacher, especially the more I teach, I don't look and I don't say one thing is right. I give, try A, B, or C, what felt better on your body, right? So, and you guys, if you want to try this, you can, or you just listen or observe. So when we're in upward dog, let's see. I'm going to click so I just see myself, then I'll understand more what you're seeing, I think. Okay. Yeah. So one thing in upward dog is I rotate my inner elbows and I point them straight ahead like this. And that can feel kind of nice. And it makes my hands feel like they're going like that, like I'm turning lids on jars, yeah? But it also starts to unweight the hand here just a little. So we can do that. That's one way. Another way is you point your elbows in toward each other and then lift. Yeah, so it's this or this. And you can try both, yeah? And see what felt on your better, what felt better. Some people rolling that way, they might feel it in their back, and then you keep the inner elbows looking at each other instead of this way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but you're not saying one is not good for the elbows or just more?
No, I think it's just a personal choice, yeah. I've tried both, and I like to use one or the other and see. I would recommend whatever you choose, do it on both elbows. Don't put one forward and the other in. I would make a choice and make it consistent. Yeah.
Thank you.
But which feels better?
For me, the
Okay,
forward.
Sorry?
For me, the elbow forward feels better.
There you go. You got your answer.
Okay.
You should be the expert in your body. You live in it 24 hours a day from the moment you were born. Yeah, you're the expert. Other people are just trying to give some advice about something that they're not as aware of, yeah, as you.
Okay.
Cool. Kanchi, you're going to have to unmute yourself there.
Hi, David.
Yeah.
I have two questions. The first one was when we're practicing backbends from a standing position, we were reaching more to the back first instead of trying to do this. And do we start bending our legs right away, or?
It depends on your flexibility. I would say bending the legs you do last, not first. You can start to bend them a little, and depending on your flexibility, like even for me, if I'm going to drop to the floor, then I really bend them and I go to the floor because I'm surrendering to gravity. Depends on your flexibility of your back and your shoulders. People that are more flexy, their hands will start to look toward the floor sooner. Other people, maybe they start out going a little bit back. But we can also choose when to straighten the arms. So they start here, and maybe initially they're coming back like this way. Whereas if I straighten them, I'm pointing way up there. But if I want to drop to the floor, my hands have to start aiming toward the floor. So they're bending, and then my gaze starts to follow those hands as they go back. You should be looking back there, not something like this where the hands remain there, or this. But the gaze is following the movement of the hands. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And there's an interim phase where maybe you get near a wall, so you drop back to the wall and push off of the wall to get a little sense of it. It takes a lot of flexibility to do a drop back like that.
And the legs are straight at first.
You need to use the legs, but you also have to have the flexibility. Yeah. And what's interesting is people with flexible Achilles tendons have an easier time with drop backs because their feet can remain flat on the floor longer as they're going back. So like in Pashasana, if people that can readily just keep their feet flat on the floor for Pashasana and do it, they have an easier time for back bends also. It's not only the flexibility of the back, it's the back of the ankle that allows them to shift their knees so far forward and the feet just remain rooted to the earth, and they can do an easier drop back as well. So there's a lot of different facets, yeah. But we used to fall doing that all the time too, just practicing the grass or something. You hurt yourself. Yeah.
And the second question was, I noticed since I've been practicing Ashtanga regularly and barely doing any other regular yoga classes, it's like the flexibility has decreased in my back. Like when I used to do Dhanurasana, for example, it used to be my happy pose in Vinyasa yoga. And now it's like, oh God, you know, maybe I can open up the front a little bit, but I have a hard time lifting my knees off the floor, for example. Do you think it's due to doing so much forward bends? I know there's
it's true for you because that's what's happening. Some people will feel the other, you know, they feel more open. Maybe start doing more second series. Do less first series, less vinyasas, because you start getting stronger. And so that strength maybe is tightening your back a bit. Do a little more second series and less first.
But I'm not on second yet.
Well, there's your answer. Start second.
Okay.
You could begin doing second series. And the other thing, honestly, listen, I'm not out to save the world with Ashtanga. Don't do Ashtanga 6 days a week. Do it 2 or 3 days a week and do the other yoga also that makes you feel good. It can be a hybrid of things. You don't have to like just stay married to the one thing. Yeah. I mean, in marriage you do, but in yoga practice, you know, the way I teach is I say, do the things that are going to make you want to do this the rest of your life. Yeah. And do the yoga that makes you happy. Do the yoga that makes you feel good and strong. And so if it was feeling good to do the other thing, that's okay. Yeah. You guys,
Thank you.
life is full of a lot of stress, especially right now. There's a lot of challenges going on in the world. Yoga practice is our medicine. This is where we come to heal. This is where we come to get energy. This is where we come to strip away stress. We shouldn't be coming away from the yoga practice feeling stressed. Life is going to do that to us. Other things are happening to do that to us. We have to find a way to practice that we feel good. Yeah? So you can modify things. You can practice less duration, less frequency, mix it up a little, do yoga cross training. Maybe don't do yoga for a day, just take a walk. You know what I mean? Do the thing that, use the medicine. It's important. It's really important right now, especially, that we find a way to do this yoga, to get some positive energy in our body, in our being, so that we have, first of all, an ability to try to stay safe and healthy and sane, and another, to do our best to make the world a better place. And when you start looking at it like that, it really doesn't matter if we point our foot or flex our foot, or we can jump through or we can't jump through. Yeah, it puts it all in perspective.